Chief Asim Munir the most tyrannical dictator in Pakistan's history. Also has called him mentally unstable, quote unquote. We tell you more about that statement and its significance and why the timing matters. All this is coming up in just a bit. Also on the show for you tonight, getting you the latest on the Russia-Ukraine war. A lot happening on the front lines of eastern Ukraine. Where do things stand and what's the strategy on either side looking like? All this and more coming up. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan has launched his fiercest attack yet on Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir. In a fiery post from behind the bars, Khan called him, quoting, the most tyrannical dictator in Pakistan's history, and went as far as labeling him, quote unquote, mentally unstable, further claiming that in his lust for power, Munir is capable of doing anything. Now, the timing of that statement is crucial. It comes as the Shehbaz Sharif government prepares to table the 27th constitutional amendment, a proposal that many see as a blatant attempt to consolidate military control for Asim Munir. That amendment will alter Article 243, which basically defines the command of the armed forces. And the changes would grant constitutional recognition to the rank of Field Marshal, conferred to him by the Shehbaz Sharif-led government back in May, remember, effectively securing Asim Munir an extended term and expanding his authority deep into civilian governance. The opposition has slammed the proposed amendment as an assault on provincial autonomy. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Chief Minister, a close ally of Imran Khan, has accused the federal government of undermining the 18th Amendment, which guaranteed provinces greater control over their own affairs. Afridi called the move a power grab disguised as reform and vowed that the PTI would resist any attempt to weaken provincial rights. Senior leader of the ruling party, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, Ikhtiar Wali Khan, defended the 27th Amendment, stating, modern warfare demands new governance structures. He claimed wars are no longer fought on battlefields, but through media and cyberspace, suggesting that centralizing power could help Pakistan tackle digital and psychological warfare. But behind that rhetoric lies a deeper question. Is Pakistan's democracy being blatantly replaced not just by military dominance, but also in the form of autocracy in the hands of Asim Munir? And then it brings us to the other question. Is Asim Munir mentally unstable, as Imran Khan claims? Well, based on his own actions, there are a lot of question marks that come up. Munir, remember, has already drawn criticism for promoting an overtly ideological vision. Back in April, during a speech invoking the two-nation theory, he told Pakistanis to remind their children that Muslims and Hindus, in his words, are fundamentally different, be it in religion, customs, or ambitions. His comments raised eyebrows for pushing a hardline narrative that sidelined the religious minorities. In the same speech, Asim Munir vowed to crush insurgents in Balochistan, promising to, quote-unquote, beat the hell out of terrorists from 1,500 terrorists belonging to groups like the BLA, BLF and BRA. Yet, just this week, the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister contradicted him in the parliament, admitting that 35,000 to 40,000 Taliban fighters who once fled have returned, quote unquote. Such conversations are not simply limited to just the Pakistani establishment. They are also surfacing across social media. Similar to Imran Khan, Pakistanis are calling Munir, quote unquote, mentally unstable in online posts, further accusing him of oppressing Pashtuns in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa under the pretext of the TTP. So as Pakistan's parliament braces for a heated showdown over the 27th Amendment, one thing is clear as of now. Imran Khan's accusations, Asim Munir's growing influence, and the government's constitutional maneuvering have reignited that age-old debate. Is Pakistan still a democracy, or has power finally shifted once and for all into military hands? And like in cases in the past, under just one person. All right, some breaking news coming in right this minute. Tensions once again rising in South Asia. In the latest, Pakistan has fired projectiles into Afghanistan. That's the information just trickling in. In fact, the Afghan military is saying that Pakistan used light and heavy weapons and targeted civilian areas in Spin Boldak. Afghanistan spokesperson, in fact, has said that the Afghani forces have not yet responded out of respect for the negotiating team and to prevent civilian casualties. The Pakistani military did not respond immediately to media requests for comment. Border clashes early last month that followed explosions in Kabul killed more than 70 people, remember, including around 50 Afghan civilians. It was one of the deadliest confrontations in years between the South Asian neighbors, whose relations have worsened since the Taliban returned to power in Kabul in 2021, particularly over cross-border militancy and security concerns. Now, the two sides have agreed to a ceasefire, remember, on October 19, but reached a deadlock when trying to finalize the details of the truce last week. And each accused the other of not acting in good faith in the process. The negotiations are underway. They resume in Istanbul, but neither side indicated immediately whether the delegations had met. Both sides warned of renewed fighting if the talks fail. So that's the latest coming in. The government in Islamabad has urged the Taliban regime to rein in groups responsible for the countless attacks in Pakistan. And on the other hand, the Taliban has said that it has nothing to do with the attacks and it is Pakistan's internal problem. We will keep a close eye on the latest. In the latest, we're getting you those updates coming in on the Pakistan-Afghanistan tensions and telling you more about the statement that also and the situation that has unfolded as of now, what the two sides are saying in terms of the attack that has unfolded. On to the latest on the Russia-Ukraine war now. The front lines of eastern Ukraine witnessing intense fighting. Russia claims it has encircled Kiev's elite brigades, warning them to surrender or face annihilation. Ukrainian soldiers, in fact, confess on camera there is a lack of manpower on the front lines. A war of nerves, strategy, and survival is unfolding. Take a look at this report for more.
The battle-scarred plains of Donbass are on the brink again. Russia says Ukrainian forces trapped in Pokrovsk and Kupiansk have just two choices: lay down arms or perish. It's the most direct warning since the siege of Bakhmut, and Moscow insists that the noose is tightening. The message from Russian commanders is cold, clinical, echoing across battered fields and ruined towns. Lay down arms and live, resist and die. Russian positions tighten relentlessly. Drones circle overhead, battering Ukrainian fortifications. Along muddy roads, columns of tanks punch deeper. Precision artillery rains down, slicing through shattered warehouses and empty apartment blocks. As buildings change hands in chaotic fighting in Ukraine's eastern stronghold of Pokrovsk, defending forces demand that more soldiers are needed to prevent the enemy infiltrating further.
They accumulated assault groups. They are seeping through our infantry positions because, as I said before, there is a critical shortage of infantry. They seeped through and they entered. I'm telling you, 5 men are on the way, but only 1 makes it. So far, it's difficult, not critical yet, but it's difficult. It will be more difficult if there is a greater accumulation of Russian military personnel and if it drags on and turns into street battles in the winter.
In Kiev, a wall of denial. Ukraine's defense ministry insists that troops are holding fast, that Russian lines aren't as strong as Moscow boasts. Ukrainian forces are also continuing to target deep inside Russia. In the latest attack, Kiev claims it launched a massive drone strike on Russia's southern city of Volgograd. Volgograd, more than 400 kilometers from the fighting in eastern Ukraine, is an industrial hub, home to gas and petroleum refining plants. Ukraine has stepped up its drone attacks deep behind the front lines, targeting Russia's energy sector. But fatal strikes so far from the border are still relatively rare. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Are Donald Trump and Xi Jinping aiming to build their own Mount Rushmores, carved from yes men? During a meeting with Republican senators at a White House breakfast, Donald Trump said he wanted his own cabinet to behave like China. Listen to this first.
And he's got about 6 people on each side, and every one of those people was standing like this. They were at attention. And I made a comment to one of them, and I got no response. I said, "Are you going to answer me?" I got no response. And President Xi didn't let him have any. So if there's any question, I said, I want my cabinet to behave like that. That's the way. I'm demanding that I want them sitting up like that, Tim, just nice and straight. I never saw posture like that. I've never seen men so scared in their lives.
And reacting to Trump's narrative, a Chinese official put out a video that showed a Chinese minister, the Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs, correcting Xi Jinping during a meeting with the South Korean president when the Chinese president allegedly incorrectly introduced the presents given to the South Korean leader.
婚宴就是安徽的宴，这个宴就是婚宴。
宴台，这个宴台是广东的。
啊，这是端宴。
这个是墨是安徽的。
这是端宴。徽墨端宴。中国就是这个。
And now here's the gist. Despite what Trump claims, he also seems to be surrounded by yes men. Just to put this simply, if you are not a yes man, you are gone from Trump's circle. And there have been plenty of instances, by the way, both during his current term and also his first term, whether it was Trump's cabinet gathering this August or back in June 2017 at the first formal gathering of Trump's most senior officials at the White House during his first term. One after another, cabinet members could be seen showering Trump with praise. And this praise is not just limited to the United States. Even outside America, it is understood that flattery is the currency when it comes to dealing with Trump. Back in June, during the NATO summit, Trump got a new nickname from the NATO Secretary General, remember? The Daddy, quote unquote. Trump at the time was speaking at the NATO summit in reference to the Iran and Israel war. Listen to this.
You know, you need them. They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language to against them.
And just last month, the Israeli Prime Minister described Trump as the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House.
So as Trump wants to have his own cabinet like China, it appears that Trump perhaps already has the same, not just domestically, but also in the way things have panned out internationally, with the big notable difference being Xi Jinping operates in a communist regime, of course, Trump in the world's oldest democracy. And before we go on any further, a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. Getting you a detailed report on an extremely disturbing incident in Mexico, where the country's president was groped. We're telling you more about this in just a bit. It's a moment that's gone viral when an Indian cricket women team player asked Prime Minister Modi about his skincare routine. Getting you more on that interaction. It's a mystery that keeps intensifying. The mysterious cosmos object that has grown brighter, leaving human beings on planet Earth puzzled and hunting for answers. That's coming up in just a bit. Let's now get to the latest on the first phase of voting in the Bihar election that's now complete. The second phase is scheduled for November 11. The results will be declared on November 14. According to the Indian Election Commission, around 64.46% voter turnout has been recorded in the first phase. Under the Election Commission's International Electors Visitor Program, 16 delegates from 7 countries, Indonesia, Colombia, the Philippines, France, Belgium, South Africa, Thailand, visited the polling booths at Patna to review the arrangements made by the Election Commission of India. The Bihar contest will see the Nitish Kumar-led National Democratic Alliance take on its primary rival, the Congress-led Grand Alliance. In fact, this contest will also see the assembly election debut of strategist-turned-politician Prashant Kishore's party. Since the 2020 assembly elections, the composition of the alliances in Bihar has changed. The Mukesh Sahani-led party joined forces with the opposition. In fact, the LJP-RV and RLM are now in the National Democratic Alliance. A lot has changed. In fact, LJP-RV is contesting from 29 seats, making it the largest junior ally in that alliance. The BJP and GDU settled for 101 seats each. Smaller allies like the HAM and Upendra Kushwaha's RLM were each given only 6 seats, in fact, and the RJD is contesting 142 seats in the Mahagathbandhan with 61 seats for the Congress. There are 20 seats for the CPI-ML, 10 for VIP, 9 for the CPI, 4 for CPI-M, 2 for the debutant Indian Inclusive Party. Nomination papers were rejected. 3 candidates, 2 from the VIP, 1 from RJD. So in total, the alliance has 251 candidates in the fray. 3 seats without an alliance candidate. Meanwhile, 11 seats are set to witness friendly fights between the allies. In 2020, remember, the NDA secured a majority in the assembly, winning 125 seats, whereas the Grand Alliance won 110 seats. The BJP, JDU, HAM, VIP formed the NDA in the 2020 polls. The BJP, meanwhile, improved its position between the 2015 and 2020 polls. It won 53 of 157 seats it contested in 2015 and 74 of 110 seats in 2020. The JDU, meanwhile, saw a dip in its performance over the last 2 elections. Nitish Kumar's party won 71 seats out of the 101 it contested in 2015 and 43 of 115 in 2020. Meanwhile, the Congress, the RJD and the left parties formed the Grand Alliance. The RJD showed a strong performance, having won 80 of the 101 seats that it contested in 2015 and 75 of the 144 seats it fought in 2020. The Congress experienced a decline in performance, having won 27 seats in 2015 and then 19 seats in 2020. Now, the BJP is probably looking at Chirag Paswan not merely as a junior partner, but also as a strategic asset, with Chief Minister Nitish Kumar seeking a 10th term. The LJP-RV seats could prove pivotal in government formation. Even though the LJP failed to perform in 2020, it registered a 100% success rate in the 2024 general election, winning all 5 of the 5 seats it contested. Shifting focus, the victorious Indian Women's World Cup team met the Indian Prime Minister at his residence. Prime Minister Modi had a lengthy conversation with the world champions, and during that interaction, batter Harleen Deol had her teammates in fits of laughter when she playfully asked the Prime Minister about his skincare routine. Here's a look at that light-hearted and humorous moment.
सर मेरे को आपकी स्किन केयर रूटीन पूछना है. आप बहुत ग्लो करते हो सर.
मेरा इस विषय पर ज्यादा ध्यान नहीं गया था.
सर ये करोड़ों देशवासियों का प्यार है आप.
ये तो है ही है जी. ये बहुत बहुत बड़ी ताकत होती है समाज से इतना, क्योंकि अब मेरा सरकार में भी 25 साल हो गए हैं हेड ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. तो ये लंबा समय होता है. उसके बाद भी इतने जब आशीर्वाद मिलते हैं तो उसका एक तो प्रभाव रहता है.
And shifting focus now to a question. Is America looking for fresh conflict in Africa? And we are asking that because Donald Trump took fresh aim at Africa's 2 biggest economies, Nigeria and South Africa. While he questioned South Africa's role in the G20 right before it gets ready to host the global summit, in Nigeria's case, he went even further. He renewed that threat to go, in his words, guns a-blazing. Now, if the government continues to allow the killing of Christians, quote unquote, he warned America would, again quoting, wipe out Islamic terrorists in Nigeria. Listen to the statement for yourself.
The Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians. The USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities.
Just last week, remember, Trump put Nigeria back on America's list of religious freedom violators. And then on November 1, he said he had asked the Pentagon to prepare for possible fast military action if Nigeria fails to act. Washington's move has strained diplomatic ties. Nigeria's government has rejected the US claims outright, calling them misinformation and faulty data, quote unquote. The information minister, meanwhile, has also pushed back, saying terrorism in Nigeria affects both Christians and Muslims, and that the government is fighting extremism through military action, regional cooperation and dialogue.
The government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is well apprised of the level of anxiety created by the designation of our country as a country of particular concern, or CPC, by the US government, and the threats of military action by the President of the United States, following a wrong perception and misrepresentation of the security challenges in our country.
So where does Nigeria really fit into Trump's broader agenda in a way, especially as his own government remains shut down for 36 days and counting? For months, American politicians and campaigners have alleged that Islamist militants are systematically targeting Christians in Nigeria. But much of the data used to support that claim is difficult to verify, reportedly. In the month of September, US TV host described it as a quote-unquote genocide, claiming Boko Haram had killed over 100,000 people since 2009 and burned 18,000 churches. Nigeria called that a gross misrepresentation of reality. Officials admit there is deadly violence but insist that terrorists attack everyone, Christians, Muslims, and those of no faith. Independent analysts agree reportedly that most victims of jihadist attacks are Muslims and not Christians. A security expert has said while Christians have been attacked as part of a broader terror strategy, it's not possible to justify claims that they are deliberately being targeted. Nigeria, after all, is battling multiple security crises, from jihadist insurgencies in the north to criminal networks in the west, reportedly, central regions, each with different causes. Nigeria's 220 million people are roughly evenly split between Christians and Muslims, with Muslims dominant in the north, where most attacks occur reportedly. Nigeria's government has struggled to contain these groups, from Boko Haram, infamous for the Chibok girls' kidnapping, to Islamic State West Africa province. But verifying the death toll has been rather tricky. Some organizations claim over 100,000 Christians have been killed since 2009. Others, like the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, say 53,000 civilians, both Christians and Muslims, have died in political violence since the year 2009. The group adds that most attacks were not religiously motivated. The charity Open Doors, which tracks persecution of Christians, has said 3,100 Christians and 2,300 Muslims were killed in Nigeria last year alone. So the picture is complex. The numbers don't quite match in some cases, which also raises a big question. Can potential US military action in Nigeria really be justified on these grounds, especially since Donald Trump is not just talking about Nigeria, he is also taking shots at South Africa, for example, the continent's biggest economy. And the US president has said South Africa should not even be in the grouping anymore, arguing, quoting, what's happened there is bad. South Africa, remember, is set to host the G20 summit on November 22 to 23. But Trump says he will not attend, sending Vice President J.D. Vance instead. Remember, Trump has previously pushed the false claim of a genocide against white farmers, quote unquote, in South Africa, even offering them refugee status in the US. His latest remarks coming while discussing Cuba and Venezuela, suggesting he may have confused South Africa with South America, perhaps. That's also been talked about. So as Trump's rhetoric sharpens and as Washington revives old claims, one cannot help but ask all over again, is the US gearing up for a whole new front, this time in Africa? Are women safe anywhere? It doesn't look like it. Take what happened with the president of Mexico, the country's highest office, yet Even she was not spared. This happened as the president was walking in the streets of Mexico City, interacting with citizens, taking photos, doing what she always does, when a man reached out, tried to kiss her and groped her. The leader turned, clearly shocked. A government official quickly stepped in, placing himself between the president and the man. The man was arrested. The Mexican leader has filed a formal complaint, but the incident has raised disturbing questions. If the president of a country, the president of Mexico, the most powerful woman there in the country, can be assaulted in such a manner in broad daylight, what does that say about every other woman? The president, Mexico's first female president, called it what it was, a crime. She said, I'm quoting here, "We cannot let it go as if it were nothing."
Although if this happens to a president walking down the street, then what happens to other young women? So we cannot let it go as if it were nothing. So yes, I filed the complaint. It's a written petition submitted to the Attorney General of Mexico City, and I will meet with her to sign it formally before the public prosecutor without privileges, because we cannot let this pass. This is about women's dignity and the recognition of our rights.
She filed her complaint without invoking any privileges and said that she will personally sign it before the public prosecutor. The president is known for traveling with minimal security, saying she wants to stay close to the people. She insists that that will not change. But Mexico and much of the world really is outraged. The video of that incident quickly spread across the internet before being taken down by some accounts, and for many it symbolized what women face in a society still steeped in such issues, especially in Mexico. This has sparked nationwide outrage, in fact. Listen to this.
It's a lack of respect. It happens simply because one is a woman, and well, also to any man, but even more so because of the position the president represents. Even more serious to me, it seems even more serious that in the subway or in any place a woman can be harassed, because it happened to me once as a teenager, and it's horrible. But back then, everyone stayed quiet, nobody said anything, and you hid it because you were embarrassed.
It's something very common, and I think it should stop being normalized. We need to report that this is not okay. It's not okay for someone to touch us, and that they feel that just because we're walking on the street, they can touch our bodies. That's not okay.
Surprisingly, this happens, so carefree that it happens. I think it's more a matter of controlling the narrative and showing that even the president of this country is not free from harassment or altercations. If that happens to a president, what could happen to someone who is here?
Activists say this incident is a wake-up call. But they're also pointing fingers at the president herself, accusing her of not doing enough to combat violence against women. Mexico recorded 821 femicides in 2024, 501 more by September this year, numbers that advocates say are likely underestimated. And all of this comes amid heightened national tension after the assassination of the Mayor Carlos Manzo, prompting the leader to announce a new security strategy focused on justice and social development. But the question still is, if even the president of Mexico can be groped in public, what hope do ordinary women have in a world that still treats them as easy targets? And we're switching focus for now. America is in a state of gridlock. A record government shutdown has now entered day 36, and the impact is only deepening, also frustrating. On Wednesday, the Federal Aviation Administration warned it may reduce flights at dozens of major airports as early as Friday if the lawmakers fail to end the shutdown. Now, just to put that in perspective for you, that's about 10% of US air traffic. The FAA did not name specific airports, but the cuts are expected to hit America's 30 busiest hubs, including New York's 3 main airports, major terminals in Washington, D.C., Chicago, Atlanta, Phoenix, Seattle. In other words, this is not just a policy stalemate anymore, it's a national logjam. The FAA saying it is considering the move to ease pressure on air traffic controllers, many of whom have been working without pay, reportedly. The shutdown, now the longest in US history, has forced 13,000 air traffic controllers, 50,000 TSA agents to work without salaries. Staff shortages have worsened. Flight delays have mounted. Some workers have taken second jobs, reportedly, just to survive. Others are calling in sick in protest. As a result, an aviation system on the brink in a way. The federal government has been partially shut since October 1. Because Republicans and Democrats cannot seem to find a way out. They are deadlocked over a funding bill. Democrats insisting that any agreement must extend health insurance subsidies, but Republicans refuse to agree. The standoff has left 750,000 federal employees furloughed. Cut food assistance for low-income families, closed doors on essential public services. And now the political fallout is only beginning to show. After Democrats swept the state elections in Virginia, New Jersey, California, President Trump admitted the shutdown had hurt his party. Just to quote him here, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans, quote unquote. And Trump made that remark, by the way, at a breakfast with GOP senators, where he also complained that the shutdown was hurting the stock market, airlines, the food benefits for low-income Americans. But instead of backing down, Donald Trump has doubled down, it seems. He called on Republicans to end the Senate filibuster, a move that would basically break long-standing legislative norms and let the majority ram through bills. But his call is being met with resistance, as per reports. Senate Republicans, including the majority leader, rejected the idea almost immediately, reportedly. Others warned they may have to revisit it if the shutdown drags on. For now, there is no deal in sight as such. No off-ramp, no sign of relief for the millions of Americans that are caught in this political crossfire, as Trump continues to pressure his own party and the Democrats smell leverage. America remains frozen by the longest government shutdown in its history. France is still hunting for the suspects of the Louvre heist. Some suspects have been arrested, but the precious jewels are yet to be found. And now a glaring lapse has surfaced. The Louvre's deepest security flaw, it seems, a password which anyone can guess. Experts are saying passwords like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 still cost millions, as hackers can easily break them. But in the heart of Paris, the world's most famous museum hid its secrets behind a simple password. Our next report telling you more.
The world's biggest museum, housing jewels worth over $45 billion and visited by over 9 million visitors every year, it has an elaborate security system. But there is a simple problem, believe me. The password for the surveillance software is as simple as Louvre. The Louvre heist wasn't just a brazen daylight robbery, it was a textbook tale of security complacency colliding with high-tech failure. Investigators uncovered a jaw-dropping lapse. The museum's video surveillance system was locked behind the password Louvre. This glaring oversight, a single word easy enough for a casual guess, opened digital gates to a theft worth over $100 million. Social media erupted. Elon Musk's response was pointed and succinct, one word: wow. France's Court of Auditors urged the Louvre Museum to speed up its security modernization plans as a priority.
Tout ce qui concerne la modernisation,
Everything related to the modernization, restoration, securing of the Louvre and the Louvre's infrastructure. We have spent half as much as the amount dedicated to acquisitions and exhibitions. That is, 80 million euros.
4 suspects in the Louvre heist were arrested last week, including 3 believed to be members of the team of 4 that was filmed using a basket lift to reach the museum's window. They face preliminary charges of theft by an organized gang and criminal conspiracy. The jewels have not been recovered.
China is dealing with a problem. Its 3 astronauts are stranded in space. The Chinese astronauts were scheduled to return to Earth after 6 months, but now their return capsule is damaged. The Chinese Space Agency is saying that it was struck by orbital debris. Our next story decoding this for you and also looking at the dangers when it comes to space travel posed by increasing amount of space debris.
China's magnificent Tiangong space station, a technological marvel orbiting at over 27,000 kilometers per hour, has sustained a direct hit. The massive orbital outpost designed as a permanent home for celestial ambition was struck without warning. The blow came not from a hostile force, but from a silent, speeding bullet of space debris, a fragment of the orbital junk cloud that now encircles the Earth. The Shenzhou 20 crewed spacecraft was hit by tiny bits of space debris. The impact was severe enough to trigger immediate alerts, forcing engineers on the ground into a state of panic. Initial telemetry suggests the strike may have compromised the integrity of the crew's return vehicle, the only lifeline tethering them to Earth. The 3 astronauts, already 6 months into their mission, now face a chilling reality: they are stranded in orbit. Their only ride home may be critically damaged, jeopardizing their complex and dangerous re-entry through the atmosphere. The incident throws a harsh spotlight on the deadly problem of space debris. Earth is now enveloped in a rapidly expanding cloud of broken satellites, spent rocket stages and tools, hundreds of thousands of fragments, each traveling at hypersonic speeds, carrying the kinetic energy of a hand grenade. This isn't China's first scare. Just last year, a debris warning forced the same station to perform an evasive maneuver, narrowly avoiding disaster. Global space agencies have repeatedly sounded alarm bells. NASA, the European Space Agency, and private firms all warn of Kessler syndrome, a chain reaction of collisions that could make Earth orbit impassable for decades. For the trio aboard Tiangong, the nightmare is real. Their supply capsule launch, scheduled for next week, may now be delayed. Without it, food and oxygen supplies could run dangerously low. Engineers on the ground race against time to bring the crew back. Space, the final frontier, has turned into a battlefield of junk. Humanity is learning the hard way how fragile that frontier truly is.
Several Miss Universe contestants staged a dramatic walkout after the Miss Universe Thailand director publicly berated Miss Mexico at a pre-pageant ceremony, reportedly. The confrontation began when he reprimanded her for failing to post required promotional content. And when she reportedly objected, he escalated the situation. He called the security, threatened to disqualify any contestant who stood in solidarity with her. she left the room. Many others, including the reigning Miss Universe, opted to stand with her fellow contestant. And a video of the incident, which was live streamed, showing several contestants shouting back at him as he raised his voice and told her to stop talking. Despite his threat, many women were seen affirming their support. The Miss Universe organization swiftly condemned his quote-unquote malicious behavior, stating he had humiliated, insulted, and showed a lack of respect, quote-unquote. The MUO president announced that Nawaz's participation would be severely limited or eliminated, and that they would be taking legal action against him. And the contestant later told the press that the executive was not respectful and claimed he had called her dumb, quote-unquote, a claim that Nawaz disputed, saying that his words were misunderstood, reportedly. Despite the controversy, for which he has since apologized to the contestants, the competition has continued. When you think of the Trudeau family, politics perhaps comes to mind. But Xavier Trudeau, the eldest son of former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, is likely to be changing that perception after being one of the newest names in Canada's rap scene. Born in 2007 to Justin and Sophie Trudeau, he has grown up in the public eye, from accompanying his father on diplomatic visits, which included a high-profile trip to India in 2023, to showing up regularly on his father's social media. He has been a familiar face, but now the 18-year-old is stepping out of his father's shadow and into his own rhythm. He recently released new rap tracks online, surprising many who expected him to follow his father into politics. In an interview, he admitted life as the son of a former prime minister isn't always easy. He said he feels a lot of external pressure, but made it clear politics is not his calling. His mother, meanwhile, has shared glimpses of his life off stage. Something rather impossible is happening in deep space. A comet has lost its tail, defied physics, grown mysteriously brighter when it should have become dull, and now the world's most powerful telescopes are hunting for answers to a question that is leaving many puzzled. Take a look.
Comets don't behave like this. Ever, until now. 3I Atlas arrived from interstellar space. A visitor from beyond our solar system traveling through the cosmic void for millions of years. Astronomers expected a frozen relic behaving according to centuries of celestial mechanics. Instead, they're witnessing something that challenges everything we understand about how objects move through space. Look at these latest images. The tail vanished. Comets develop tails when solar radiation vaporizes surface ice, creating spectacular streams of gas and dust millions of kilometers long. 3I Atlas had a tail, then it didn't. New images show a compact, brilliant object without the signature feature that defines comets. The physics shouldn't allow this. Yet the tail is gone. Then came the acceleration. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb, the scientist behind theories about alien technology, detected unexplained velocity changes. 3I Atlas is speeding up in ways that natural outgassing cannot explain. Something is propelling this object, something we don't understand.
Anomalies must have a physical reason, and for me, the most difficult ones to explain are the fact that the trajectory aligns with the ecliptic plane of the planets, because there is no possible explanation for that.
The brightness is equally baffling. As 3I Atlas moves away from the sun, it should dim. Basic astrophysics demands it. Instead, the object grows more luminous. Observatories worldwide confirm the measurement. The data is undeniable. The explanation is missing. China has joined the hunt. The world's fastest growing space power has clicked these images using its Mars orbiter Tianwen-1 to unravel mysteries of Three-Eye Atlas.
Because Three-Eye Atlas follows a hyperbolic orbit, unlike the elliptical orbits of objects around the Sun, it clearly originates from beyond the solar system and will eventually move away from it.
Tonight, the skies beyond our atmosphere hold their own secrets. Three-Eye Atlas continues its silent passage, burning ever brighter, tailless and unbowed. For a brief window, we stand witness to something ancient, something alien, or perhaps simply nature unbound. Either way, watching, waiting, wondering.
Our next story is about deepfakes, a major concern given how AI is increasingly making its presence felt all around us. And in case you're not aware, deepfakes basically use AI to try and manipulate or generate content to make it appear authentic. Basically, artificial intelligence generated images, videos, audio of real people or events that are highly realistic. They appear to look real, but they are not. They are a dangerous tool for spreading misinformation. Just imagine having your face placed on someone else's, and that person could be doing just about anything. Sounds scary, right? Well, they have become not only easier to make worldwide, but also look or sound exponentially more realistic. And now Denmark is seeking to protect ordinary citizens as well as performers and artists who might have their appearance or voice imitated and shared without their permission. Basically, a bill that is expected to pass early next year would change copyright law reportedly by imposing a ban on the sharing of deepfakes to protect citizens' personal characteristics like their appearance or voice from being imitated and shared online without their consent. To mention some of the details, if enacted, Danish citizens reportedly would get the copyright over their own likeness. In theory, they then would be able to demand that online platforms take down content shared without their permission. The law would still allow for parodies and satire reportedly, though it's unclear how that will be determined. Experts and officials reportedly say the Danish legislation would be among the most extensive steps yet taken by a government to combat misinformation through deepfakes. The fact is that there is rising concern over deepfakes. Technology is evolving fast, and there is a need to catch up and counter the menace of deepfakes. And there is no option but to win this war against this monster. Collins Dictionary has officially crowned its word of the year for 2025, and it's something that sounds like it was conceived at a coffee shop, maybe, over a conversation between startup founders and musicians. The word is vibe coding. You can now build an app just by describing it to AI. No semicolons, no stress, just you, your idea, and the good vibes. Only approach to programming. The term was coined by OpenAI co-founder, who says that it's about letting AI do the heavy lifting while creators forget the code even exists. The translation: you tell the bot what you want, like, hey, make me an app that plans my weekly meals, and the AI starts building it. It's coding for the non-coders, basically. Creativity for those curious, and maybe, just maybe, the end of copy-paste chaos. Of course, it's not foolproof. Your dream app might come with a few quirky surprises, but Collins says the phrase perfectly captures how language and technology are vibing their way into our lives. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks for watching.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS Centenary Year, Kesariya at 100.